And this is my case study over everyday counts. So a summary of the case: Golden Oak High School serves 965 students. They used to have a really high attendance rate as far as the other schools go in the district, but in recent years that has steadily declined. Mr. Rhodes is a first-year principal. Dr. Newman is the superintendent of the district, and he has come to Mr. Rhodes expressing concern of the attendance that has been going on at Golden Oak High School. And he highly encouraged Mr. Rhodes to apply the social services and the juvenile court system as needed. He said that they have a positive relationship with those services. So Mr. Rhodes starts looking through some cases of students who have missed 10 or more days in the fall semester. And the reasons that students have missed have been all over the board. You know, freshman, sophomore, junior. Some have had great grades, National Honor Society, then they got married. Some go on family trips. One person is excused by their minister. Carl and John. Carl gets to miss kind of whenever he wants to. His parents are okay with him dropping out. John is the starting quarterback at the school, and the athletic director at the school has requested that every Friday afternoon, on top of missing school for physical therapy on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that John have Friday afternoons off so that he can go home and rest. And so the situations that kids are in vary greatly across the school district. Legal and ethical issues. Mr. Rhodes must ensure that his students and school personnel are following state and district guidelines, even if it makes him unpopular. So I do not feel that anyone has been physically harmed by this case. I do feel that the teachers currently have not been promoting the success and well-being of students because they have been allowing absences outside of the board policy. Examples would be Tyrone's trips and John's Friday afternoons off to rest. Does the action or the situation contravene an existing law? Yes, according to the state law and the board policy, as Dr. Newman told Mr. Rhodes, it aligns with it. It states that excused absences are defined as an illness, death in the immediate family, inclement weather, or a valid reason excused by the principal with prior approval. Was there a breach of contract? Depending on what the teacher contract says, there could have been a breach in contract. I did not get to see the teacher contract, and so I do not know, but allowing absences past what the policy says could be a breach in contract. At this point, I do not feel that there's been any discrimination, although if I were in Mr. Rhodes' position, not saying that there's going to be discrimination happen, but in today's day and age, I would be prepared to be accused of it. Synthesize what has happened. Due to the decrease of attendance at Golden Oak High School, Mr. Rhodes has been asked to take the necessary measures to ensure that the school is following state laws. And so within that, when he starts making changes, he should expect, protest and some repercussions from students, parents, and staff. But he needs to remember that ultimately he is doing what is best for students. It is crucial to gather the known facts. So I'm not going to keep going over the known facts of the case. We know that Golden Oak High School serves 965 students. What I found incredibly alarming was of the 965 students, 659 students had missed 10 or more days in the fall semester. So I would like to look more into the unknowns of situations. Why did the previous principal leave? What is the graduation rate at Golden Oak High School? Why is the counselor, not really involved? What is Dr. Newman's thoughts on the counselor? What is the superintendent's thoughts on the athletic director's excused absences of varsity players? The athletic director has had 5 state championships in football. Would that come into play with Dr. Newman? I would like to know that further. Are ministers allowed to excuse minors from school? Students like Carl that have been in trouble with truancy, have they dealt with the juvenile court system? These students that are missing school a lot, do they have siblings at elementary and middle schools in the district? Are those schools struggling with those siblings having truancy, or is it just starting at the high school age? Places. Golden Oak High School is it's in a suburban community adjacent to a large metropolitan area. A lot of the parents have a 1 to 2 hour commute. So that made me think about, what is the commute for the students? Are they driving themselves? Are they riding the bus? Why are these students missing so much school? Are they saying that they just missed their alarm? Did they miss the bus and then they don't have a way to school? I would like to look further into that. What is the average commute time for the students? If the parents have to travel, are they going into the city and that's why it's 1 to 2 hours? What is the commute time for these students to school? Program. So we learned in the case that the community has become more diverse over the past few years. And so that sparked my interest as the curriculum becoming more diversified. We didn't really learn anything about the curriculum. It talked about that there were 11 team sports and different extracurricular activities offered, but it didn't talk anything about curriculum. So I was wondering, has it diversified? Do they offer foreign language classes? What is the demographic makeup of the students academically? How many of these students that are continually absent are on IEPs? What is the special education services like at the school? Are these students getting frustrated that they have academic needs and they're not being met, and so they just don't come to school? I would like to know more about that situation. Mr. Rhodes needs to carefully assess his options and the method he should use to accomplish the task of higher education. Could the conflict, the situation, or the decision be damaging to stakeholders or the community? Yes, there could be lots of repercussions no matter which way Mr. Rhodes goes. Change is always going to be resisted by somebody. And so Mr. Rhodes, if he starts just requiring teachers in the school to start following board policy, there could be backlash from the students, parents, and staff members of Golden Oak. Parents and guardians might have to take time off work if Mr. Rhodes, if he starts taking Dr. Newman's advice, to use the positive relationship they have with social services in the juvenile court. Parents have to take off work to attend those meetings. It could make them pull their kids out of school and go somewhere else. Teachers could transfer to other schools because it said that a lot of these teachers have been there for over 10 years. So they are used to the way things have gone the past few years. So Mr. Rhodes coming in and making a bunch of changes, even if they're meant for well-being, he could face some repercussions. What individuals and groups have an important stake on the outcome? Ultimately, anyone involved with Golden Oak has some stake in the outcome. Have all the relevant stakeholders been consulted? No. If I were Mr. Rhodes, I would like to meet further with Dr. Newman and get his guidance. And I would like to also meet with the school board and talk about what their non-negotiables are. What are the numbers they need to see for things to improve? I would love to learn more about this case. And I don't feel like I have enough to know a decision. I feel like I can head in the right direction, but there's so much more about this case that I would like to know. There will be support and criticism on either side, but we must choose the side that upholds legality and morals. So there's the no action option. Mr. Rhodes could choose to do nothing um, and simply just ride the year out and see what happens from there, see what Dr. Newman says. He could choose the most comprehensive action. And so with the approval from the school board and Dr. Newman, he could hold a staff meeting to communicate that they're going to immediately start following the board and state policies for absences. And if teachers fail to comply, they could be written up or possibly even terminated. They could notify students and parents of the effective changes. And those students that have missed 10 or more days, he could release their names to the juvenile court system and social services. And teachers are to follow the district policy, which Dr. Newman told Mr. Rhodes that they have the ability that after the students have missed 5 unexcused absences in class, that they can deduct 10 points. So Mr. Rhodes could say, we are going to start enforcing that. And so several different steps can be taken so that it doesn't have to seem like all or nothing. It doesn't have to be nothing or so extreme. So starting right away at the beginning of the spring semester, Mr. Rhodes could have a staff meeting to communicate with the staff that they're going to start following state law and school policies. But what he could say is that they are going to wipe the slate clean and everybody's going to be starting fresh. They're not going to focus on the fall. They're focused on what's going to happen in the spring semester. After 4 unexcused absences, students will not be eligible for any extracurricular activities for the remaining 9 weeks. After 5, Mr. Rhodes will contact the juvenile court system and release those names. So just forget the fall, start in the spring, get the ball rolling slowly. Mr. Rhodes could have all of the teachers turn in their attendance each hour electronically. Then he will decide whether it is excused or unexcused. For unexcused absences, students will have only 1 week from the unexcused date to make up the work, and it will be for only half the credit. So students like in Tyrone's situation, where his parents said he will make up the work within a week, okay, well, those absences, some of them may not be considered, first off, excused. Second, the work that they said he would make up, it would be for only half the credit if his absences were determined to be unexcused. Students will be encouraged to participate in extracurricular activities, hoping to intrinsically motivate students to get their grades up, to be present at school, to have pride in themselves and the things that they are involved in. Um, Perhaps if there's money in the budget, I thought that Mr. Rhodes could reward those students tell them, hey, I'll reward you at the end of the spring semester if you comply and you show up and you meet the attendance requirements. I'll reward you at the end of the year. Give them something to work towards. And so following these steps will allow for Mr. Rhodes to be respected, but also not to just seem like a military school. Pros and cons of the different situations. I don't really think there's any pros for the not really. There is no pros for the no action plan. There are multiple cons that would happen, just several repercussions. The most comprehensive plan, he would get results, I'm sure, but he could have a lot of backlash from students and teachers because it would just be kind of just such a shocking slap in the face for the changes that were happening. With the multi-tiered plan, there are several pros. Students will know clearly what they're supposed to do. They will have expectations. Teachers will not have to do administrative roles anymore of excused and unexcused absences. Mr. Rhodes has a better chance of balancing morale, of having guidelines, having rules, but not just, just wow, so such a critical turnaround of what to expect. There could still be some repercussions. Students may not care about being involved in extracurricular activities. Teachers may feel like they don't have much of a say anymore. They might like marking, excused or unexcused. And, ultimately, staff, parents, and students could still resist change. The multi-tiered plan, no matter what decision is made, someone will most likely be unhappy. So in the end, pick the decision that is morally, ethically, and legally best. It's not cut and dry. This plan allows for adjustments. It allows for some wiggle room as people get used to the change. Communicating the plan with staff, students, parents, and other stakeholders will keep everyone informed and eliminate confusion. Mr. Rhodes will be taking clear steps to improve attendance. He can keep meeting with Dr. Newman and the board, letting them know, how January attendance looks, how February attendance looks, and he can keep making changes as needed, figure out how to intrinsically motivate students. And so since Mr. Rhodes will be the only person making decisions on absences, they can get some consistency in the school. Students will have a pretty good idea, and teachers will too, whether it's excused or unexcused. And that just provides a lot of structure. Putting stipulations on the participation of extracurricular activities. So if they hit that unexcused mark, they don't get to participate for the rest of the 9 weeks. Hopefully that will motivate students that are involved in those to come to school, to be there. You're not going to get your Friday afternoons off to rest. Are you going to be at school or not? Are you going to play or not? By requiring students to still make up their missing work, but only allowing it to be worth half the points, hopefully students will just realize that it's easier to be at school, put in the work, get the full credit, and stay in good standing. I personally believe out of all of these options that the multi-tiered plan allows for Mr. Rhodes to be respected and taken seriously. So I've gone over a lot of what he would do to implement it. He needs to communicate with staff members, parents, students, be very upfront and present. He needs to make an all call going out to all of the ones that were already attendance offenders, not saying that they're going to be in trouble now, but letting them know that if their fall behavior continues into the spring, they will be released to social services and the juvenile court system. And then I think another phone call should go out congratulating the ones that are complying. He needs to utilize technology, get it out on social media, communicate with everybody, just keep everybody informed about what the changes are. For quite some time, Mr. Rhodes should expect this to be an ongoing thing. It's not just going to be turned around in the month of January. He needs to expect this to be on his plate, but yet still be the principal and other platforms. I enjoyed this case study. There's so much more that I would love to learn about it. Thank you.